In a previous video, you were introduced to Sangwan and his wife Miran. Sangwan's story is a wonderful illustration of God's grace at work in the life of a pastor who has been affected by your example. As a result of your example, his life has been changed in significant ways, and he is now making significant sacrifices to plant a church in Seoul, South Korea. Sangwan and Miran's service in Seoul is one of the many encouraging stories that are developing from this past year. I'd like to share just a few of these with you. Church plants that have taken place, a church we hope to plant in the coming year, and the moving story of ways we've been able to help serve the people of Haiti. In Sydney, Australia, we are rejoicing with Dave Taylor and the church plant team in that city. Sovereign Grace Church Sydney opened its doors last month, and they have received an enthusiastic welcome there. We are already hearing stories about how God is at work through this new church in Sydney. We are humbled to join with so many pastors and churches who have been faithful to the gospel for decades in that country. In Burma, we are rejoicing in our first opportunity to support a church plant in that country. This new church plant is taking place among an unreached people group in a region of the world that remains hostile to the gospel. Oh, how I wish I could tell you all that is going on in this country and what this represents. If time permitted, we could present an entire video on what God is doing here. Please pray for this church. And on this continent, in Arlington, Virginia, a suburb of Washington, D.C., we are rejoicing with Redeemer Church. This church started this spring, and 50 members from 4 regional Sovereign Grace churches joined the church planting team. Redeemer Church is an example of the regional partnership in planting a church that will be our increasing experience in Sovereign Grace. Eric Simmons, who is a graduate of the Pastor's College, led that church plant. So from Arlington to Australia, churches are being planted, and the gospel, the glorious news that Jesus Christ died for our sins to reconcile us to God, this news is being proclaimed, and all because of your example and support. So I hope you are encouraged as you hear about these different church plants. I hope you are inspired, but no one should be impressed. We're not trying to impress you because we're small. We are simply seeking to make our small contribution. When I'm asked to describe Sovereign Grace, I normally respond, we're small, but we're slow. Therefore, we have every reason to be humble. But we are doing our small part to participate in the advance of the gospel around the world. And I do hope you are encouraged. No mission presentation would be complete without some update on the influence and the effect of the Pastor's College. The Pastor's College has been training pastors for 13 years. There are now 220 graduates. 82% of those graduates are presently in full-time ministry. 46 of them are senior pastors. 28 of them have planted churches. 21 of them are serving churches outside the United States. And this year, the Pastor's College will train 3 church planters for the purpose of planting a new church in a predominantly Muslim country that is closed to the gospel. These men and their families will need our prayers and our support as they prepare for this difficult and much needed work. Your sacrificial giving is not only helping us plant churches in the United States and in countries around the world, it has again enabled us to act quickly in the wake of a catastrophe. No doubt you remember the massive earthquake that struck Haiti in January. This earthquake killed an estimated 230,000 people. It injured 300,000 people, and it left 1 million survivors homeless. The images of the destruction are etched in all our memories. But for the folks in Haiti, these aren't simply memories. This harsh reality continues for them on a daily basis. It was your giving above and beyond the mission fund last year that allowed us to act quickly and to provide emergency help in the region by providing medical supplies, food for orphans, and relief for devastated churches. It's been several months, but the rebuilding of Haiti is only just beginning. Your continued giving to the Mission Fund enables us to come alongside pastors and to do our small part to provide resources for them as they begin rebuilding their churches. And most importantly, by the grace of God, the gospel is being proclaimed in Haiti. We are hearing reports of people being converted and churches strengthened as this relief effort continues. I want to seize this opportunity to thank you. It's the partnership of churches like yours that makes this gospel proclamation possible around the globe. God has given us the privilege of serving pastors and churches in 21 countries. As the psalmist said, this is the Lord's doing, and it is marvelous in our eyes. And if I could meet with each of you personally, and how I wish I could, this is what I would tell you. Thank you. Thank you for serving in your local church. Apart from the example of existing churches, we would not be able to plant new churches. Your humble service in your local church makes possible the advance of the gospel and the planting of new churches in Sovereign Grace Ministries. And the way you are serving is simply stunning. Recently, I was informed that there are 1,650 people serving in Sovereign Grace churches as small group leaders or assistants. You are helping to apply the gospel to individual lives. Thank you. I recently learned that there are 3,640 people serving in evangelism, outreach ministries, or in mercy ministries. You are seeking the lost and serving those in need. Thank you. And this brings me a unique joy. There are 6,120 of you serving in children's ministry in Sovereign Grace churches, transferring the gospel to the next generation. None of whom are seeing this video right now because you're all serving in children's ministry. So please tell them thank you for me. And I'm not done yet. In just the last 10 years, 750 of you have participated in church planting teams. For most of you, this has required some form of sacrifice and often involves leaving family, friends, leaving a local church you love, relocating geographically with all that entails for one purpose, to establish a new gospel-centered church. I am provoked by the sacrifices you have made, and I don't have a vocabulary with which to thank you. All of these sacrifices remind me of what the Apostle Paul writes in Philippians chapter 1. I thank my God in all my remembrance of you, always, in every prayer of mine for you all, making my prayer with joy because of your partnership in the gospel from the first day until now. This is one of those rare occasions when I can relate in some small way to Paul. For when I think of you and your partnership in the gospel, I feel the same way as Paul. And I give thanks to God for you. The sacrifices you are making, both by serving in your local church and by giving to the mission fund, make possible our shared partnership, a partnership that brings me great joy and, more importantly, brings God great glory. So, on behalf of all those who serve you in Sovereign Grace, and on behalf of your pastors, I want to express our gratitude. Thank you for partnering together as we plant and build local churches, as we do our small part in proclaiming the gospel locally and around the world to the glory of God.